The book I'm going to be reading today is Temple Alley Summer by Sachiko Kashiwaba, illustrated by Miho Satake. And here's the book cover. You may be familiar with the author and illustrator. They have ties to Studio Ghibli films, which some popular ones over here in the West would be like Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle, I believe it made mention of. And this book follows Kazuhiro and his what seems to be supernatural experience with ghosts. Now, before I begin reading, I want to address how I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through and read some sections. Each time I'm going to pause and ask questions for the listener to contemplate. And then at the end, after I finish reading, I want to speak to the global context of the book because this has a lot to introduce Japanese culture. I never dreamed my house had a secret unknown to my parents or me. And believe me, when I discovered it, I had no plans to get involved. I am a scaredy cat. The whole thing began because I frightened easily, or because it was summer, or maybe because my grandpa died the past spring. I shouldn't have learned the secret at all. But from the morning of the day we had multi-grade activity time at school, or really the day before, I was involved. It was a sticky, hot July night. The TV ghost story shows, typical for summer in Japan, came on at 7. A scaredy cat like me had no business watching them. I know. But I couldn't not watch either. I had to see dishes rattle in a hotel late at night, though no earthquake registers. A ghost with long hair keeps pace with a car doing 40 miles per hour. A hand appears from forming a V over the middle person's head whenever 3 people have their photo taken at a certain scenic spot. Could it happen? I was hooked. For 3 hours, it was a ghost story marathon. Kazu, you'd better quit it, my older sister nagged me. I glared back at her. She meant that I should quit both watching TV and eating the watermelon I was snacking on. To be honest, I was thinking I should knock off the watermelon myself, but then she said it. Don't come crying to me in the middle of the night asking me to take you to the bathroom. She shot me an icy glance. My sister's in 7th grade and I'm in 5th, and since last spring our 2 bedrooms have been next door to each other. I would never go running in her bedroom at night. Ha! I grabbed a 5th slice of bladder-loading watermelon to prove it. I should have known better. So in the beginning, it talks about Kazuhiro. He mentions a secret. What do you think, just from hearing this initial introduction, what that secret might be? Also, judging from kind of the background I gave on the story and just the introduction you've heard, what do you think the story is going to be about? Then I saw a figure step from behind the curtains, wearing a kimono, a white one. Even the sash was white. The child had shoulder-length hair that was pulled back on one side. The sky had brightened a bit so I could see 2 small bright red baubles on a hairband. The baubles were the size of a pickled plum and perfectly round because the child was looking down, the face was hidden. Who was it? A child robber? The hands were empty, and the kimono was exactly like the one they put on Grandpa when he died. Thin and snow white. A ghost! Whoa! A ghost! It had to be. I forgot that I had just seen the feet. People say that real ghosts have no feet, but is that true? I only thought about that later, though. Ghost! A ghost! I wanted to scream, but my voice got stuck. Still, the figure stepping into the courtyard sensed me. I saw thick, pitch-black hair swing and a face tilt in my direction. I think I saw the face, but I didn't meet the eyes. This time I screamed for real, as if Pushed by an invisible arm from the foot-wide windowsill where I stood, I fell back and landed on my bottom. "Ghost! Ghost! Ghost!" I shouted. But for the first time ever, I lost all strength in my body. All I could do was sit and stare at the window. The impact of me falling on my butt made our old house shake. Mom, Dad, and my sister came running into my room. What followed was torture. We discovered that a lock on one of our sliding doors was open, and the wooden gate that leads from the courtyard to the alley was ajar. We probably just left them open though, Mom said. No one believed I had seen a ghost. "You idiot, I told you not to watch those shows," my sister said as she conked me on the head with a fist and headed to her room. "You agreed to do your business in the toilet, young man," Mom said, ready to chew me out for the foreseeable future. "It's only 4. We can still get some rest," my dad offered. "Kazu, are you okay? Can you get back to sleep by yourself? Do you want me to stay?" My only ally. I told my parents that I'd fall asleep on my own, but my mind was racing. I saw what I saw. For a long time after that, I lay awake. So, from that encounter, do you think Kazu really saw a ghost? I mean, it certainly seems like he's convinced he did, but do you think that's what he actually saw? The area Yusuke showed me was labeled Kimyoji Yokocho, or Kimyo Temple Alley. It was written in formal ideograph with tiny phonetic marks to help people read it. "Is it really the same place?" I said, scanning the map. I found the area labeled Omi, which seemed to be the former name for Minami Odori. As its center was the store called Takamatsuya Yusuke Store, the place really had been around for generations. It was an antique map. 10 stories east of it was a street, my street, connecting Minami Odori to the Daiku area, which runs parallel, same as today. The street is about 100 yards long, with 4 or 5 houses on each side, and its name, Kimyo Temple Alley. At least on the old map. Kimyo Temple? I don't know about any temple, I said with a scowl. Does the map show one? A 6th grade leader took a look. There were no temples even close to my street. The temple district is way over there. The map is from 1913, right? Maybe there was a temple before the map was made. Maybe there was a graveyard too. Scary. Live there and you could get hexed. I saw what happened on a TV show. I saw that too. The conversation turned from Kimyo Temple to the TV specials the night before. Fine for you guys, I thought. No hexes at your house. What about me? I live in the back alley of a haunted temple. I scowled some more. Let's finish up, people, a leader directed. The students sat down and opened their notebook. I opened mine too. For what it was worth. No way was my house on top of a graveyard. Or was it? Maybe that was why I'd seen the ghost. I saw the red baubles across from me, and off to one side, the head beneath them looked just like the one I had seen before dawn. There was no mistaking that outdated hairstyle. The girl with the baubles faced our leader, who had begun to speak. She's the one I saw, the ghost who left my house before dawn. Ah. Before I knew it, sounds were escaping my mouth as I stood up, knocking over my chair. Kazu, what's up with you? Yusuke said, staring at me. That person, she's a ghost. A ghost. I sputtered, eyeing the girl as she looked up at me, wondering what was happening. Everyone else did the same. They had no clue what I was talking about. Why? Why is she here? I murmured. Yusuke tugged at my pants. Sit down, Kazu, sit down. When I finally heard him, he pointed across the room with his jaw. Vice Principal Broadbean was glaring at me. I sat. So it seems like Kazu's the only one who's recognizing this girl that's in their class as a ghost because it's the one he saw before. So do you think, his classmates are right thinking that she's not a ghost, or that Kazu's right thinking that she is a ghost? What do you think will happen next following that? And now, that was just an introduction to the book that I hoped enticed you to read. And I hope that you noticed that the background sounds I had playing, as well as the visuals I incorporated, and how I read versus reading, say, if I had just read it in like a monotone voice, to try to make it interesting and capture the reader's attention. I'd like to challenge listeners to try to jazz up their reading in some way as well, such as whether it's reading with expression, adding sounds, visuals. I think those are all great things that can be done. And I also hope that you're interested in reading this book. The last thing I want to speak about before I finish is the global context of this book and how it really introduces aspects of Japanese culture. For example, even to the way of dress, you notice that Yusuke's family runs a kimono store in the shopping district, and Akari when she's, worried that she doesn't have her yukata. And kimonos are just dresses or wear that are worn on special events or festivals and things to that extent. And when speaking of festivals, you can see that festivals are kind of important there because they're concerned over the Canon Summer Festival. Most festivals in Japan are held annually and celebrate the shrine's deity or seasonal or historical event or something like that. There's stalls with food and events going on during that festival. Or when it speaks of typical children's game, in one page it mentions how the children played demon tag, which is similar to kind of how we have children's game here, whether it be hide and go seek or whatever. And demon tag, or oni tag, sometimes called the child who is it plays very similar to tag over here in the United States, is referred to as the demon or oni, the one who is it. And oni is just, in Japanese folklore, basically a demon. And then also, what it mentions is, it doesn't explicitly mention how they're used, but you see Kazuhiro referred to as Kazukun. So in Japan, they have honorifics, and I'm gonna pull up a visual here for you to see as I read it in the background. For example, Sama being the most formal honorific, formal version of San, used for guest, customers, or divine gods. San, the most common honorific, used between equals of any age, equivalent to Mr., Mrs., Miss. The male honorific is kun, used when referring to men in general, and by superiors to address those of junior status. Then you see chan, the female honorific, used for girls, close friends, children, or lovers. It adds a sense of cuteness, only used between people who have known each other for a long time. And then not even that, during the reading you see a lot of the foods that Kazuhiro is eating that's kind of common there. When he goes to, when Yusuke gets noodles, they have ramen. His mom, when she gives him manchu, the curry, he refers to his mom's famous grilled rice balls, which is kind of like onigiri, I believe, but just grilled. And even rice crackers when he's with Miss Minakami. She offers him some of those. So I just wanted to take a minute to speak of, this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but it speaks about the dress in Japanese culture, the food, festivals, children's games, the honorifics they use, and many other things. So I think this book would also be great for, introducing aspects of Japanese culture as well that some who haven't really had exposure to anything out here, besides out here west, would be nice to introduce them to.